Monday lunchtime, Jim White, Simon Jordan, Martin O'Neill, former Celtic manager Martin O'Neill in our midst, and I'm delighted about that because it's kind of as you were, Martin, is it not, on a Monday morning. Celtic beat Ross County over the weekend by 5-0. As a result, they lead the way at the top of the SPFL. Aberdeen are chasing them, of that there is no doubt. They are second in the league at the moment, 4 points behind Celtic, of course, trying to make chase, but we know how difficult that is with Celtic in the form that they are in. Aberdeen drew 1-1 with Hearts, and then Rangers made somewhat heavy weather of it at Perth against St Johnstone, but won by a single goal to nil, and Rangers in something of a lowly third position at the moment on 26 points, so somewhat cut adrift from Celtic. My point is this: when you were at Celtic, of course, you had good times, you had a few not so good, but mostly good times, Martin. In your first season at Celtic, you won the title by 15 points ahead of Rangers. In your second season, you won it by 18 points ahead of Rangers. Rangers won the title in your third, and then you regained it. You won the title in your fourth, 17 points ahead of Rangers. When you were winning by margins like that, is it getting towards that at this particular point in time, north of the border just now? I know there isn't that much daylight between Celtic and Aberdeen, but there is between Celtic and Rangers at this time. Is this what Brendan's got to guard against?
Well, I don't think he has to worry too much because Rangers are so poor. I've been saying this for quite some considerable weeks now, and they're not a good enough side to challenge Celtic over a whole season. You had this argument with Graham Souness some weeks ago, and saying that there's not a really big gap between them. There is a massive gap between them. In any given Saturday, any given day, Rangers might pose a threat to Celtic for a match, but over a whole season, certainly in league terms, not good enough.
But when you were winning by 15 and 18 points, there's not a massive gap there?
No, there wasn't a gap. There was not a gap. Sometimes what had happened in my first season, it was a dogfight for well after Christmas. We were never at any given stage, at this stage of the season, 11 points clear of Rangers. Couldn't possibly be with the side that Rangers had at that time. So it was only towards the end when Rangers sort of gave up that we went clear then in those leagues. And then we won it the next year because we had a lot of confidence about ourselves and we were involved in European football and Champions League and all that type of stuff. Then when we lost the league by a single goal in our third season, and the final season we lost by a point. So they've been always relatively tight. Though I think there was one season where we won 27 or 25 games in the trot, and that obviously put paid to Rangers' chances. But here there's no challenge there from Rangers at this minute. Aberdeen have done exceptionally well so far, but you're not expecting Aberdeen to keep it going throughout the whole season. They've done really, really well again. Yeah. But and if Celtic are thinking that Aberdeen are their main challengers, well then you, as you mentioned at the top of your question to me, complacency. I don't think Celtic will be complacent. I watched them against Bruges the other evening. I suppose the expectation was very high because they had been splendid against Leipzig in the previous round of the Champions League. Didn't play so well in the first half. Played much better in the second half, and eventually got a good point. So they've 8 points from 5 games, going strongly in the Champions League, and even stronger in the SPL.
So in the SPL, Martin, do you think 11 will be something of the distance between the two old firm clubs come the time Celtic claim the title? Or could the margin be even wider?
Well, it could be wider because Celtic are so dominant. They're very, very strong. You just expect Celtic to win the games. You know, for instance, you just mentioned that Rangers got over the line against St Johnstone. That is no real surprise to me. You don't feel that Rangers are capable of going away from home and winning convincingly in matches. If they get over, and it's 3 points in the board, and that's very important for them. Ironically, funny enough, they've had some really decent results in European football. They had a result against
Nice.
Olympiacos. Yeah,
Nice.
they beat Nice, but they had a really great result against Olympiacos when they played exceptionally well. I watched that from start to finish. But converting that into the SPL has been a real problem for them.
Do you think the SPL, are Rangers capable of beating Celtic this season?
Well, they've got a very big game coming up against them in the League Cup final. That is so important for Rangers. Really important for them to try and win the game. Again, on a given day, it is possible. Of course it's possible. I think unlikely, but it is possible for them to win a game. This is a must-win for Rangers, this League Cup.
Must-win in terms of?
A must-win for credibility, for everything under the sun, and for the season ahead.
Does Clermont really need this win against Celtic at Hampden in the League Cup
all
final?
Managers need wins. Yeah. We've said this to be a beginning.
Yeah.
And absolutely, this is very important for him now, as much as anything else, because he hasn't been able to beat Celtic.
I wonder how much it changes the complexion of things, Simon, if, as Martin is suggesting, they're about to meet this month at Hampden in the League Cup final.
It changes one of the arguments. And I think, to be fair to Graham, his argument was that in the games that Rangers played against Celtic, the difference between the two sides wasn't so vast, because the results were nip and tuck results. They weren't getting beat 3s and 4s and 5s. They were in those games. That's, in essence, what Graham's point was. It was then made bigger by myself and Martin by saying, yeah, but the gulf between the two sides in being able to win a league is quite significant. That's the point that we were going. You don't win, you can win your battles, but you've got to win the war in the end, and the winning the war in the end is winning the league. And if you're 15 points behind Celtic at the end of the league, at the end of the season, you're miles off them, aren't you? I think ultimately, if he beats Celtic in a cup final, then of course it gives him credibility. He's got credibility in Europe right now, because obviously his side are 8th in the Europa League, in automatic spots above Tottenham in the Europa League. So he retains some degree of resonance with the Rangers fans, because if they were getting bashed up in Europe as well as underperforming in the league, he probably would have been gone by now.
It's amazing looking at your record, the times you beat Rangers to the title. 15 points, 18 points, 17 points.
Yeah,
you were running away with it.
Well, I mean, we did really well, but again, I get back to the point that we were never, at this stage of the season, we were never 11 points clear of Rangers.
What is your record as a manager against Rangers? Do you know off the top of your head?
I know that we actually, and John Robertson told me, I honestly did not know this now, and I should know these things, but we actually won 7 in the trot once against them. That which was really great. We also lost some big battles against them as well too.
But predominantly your win record against Rangers is significant. So it's not as if you beat teams in the league that they didn't beat, but again, between the two sides,
I think we were...
I think you won 16 out of 27 all firm games.
Was that right? Is that what it is?
So 60%.
You drew 3 and lost 8.
Lost 8, right.
There you go.
So we won 16
and
lost 8, right, okay.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.